Morning, we are going to learn about genetics today. Genetic disorders can be classified into three categories: chromosomal disorders, single gene disorders, multifactorial inheritance. Chromosomal disorders arise due to abnormality in the number of chromosome or structure of chromosome. Examples are trisomy 21, monosomy of X, cri du chat syndrome. Single gene disorders are due to a single mutant gene. They are also called Mendelian disorders, and four basic patterns of inheritance are there: autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, and sex-linked inheritance, which can be which can be dominant or recessive. And multifactorial inheritance is a result of interaction of both genetic and non-genetic factors. Non-genetic factor can be an environmental factor like infectious agent or drug or ionizing radiation. So before going to concentrate on Mendelian disorders, we have to know something about pedigree. So what is pedigree? It is depicting family data, and suppose a patient is coming to you with genetic disorder and you are going to ask the history of patient, then you are asking about his siblings, his or her siblings, parents, then other relatives, their manifestations, and you are going to construct a family tree. So while constructing that, you should construct with certain standard symbols. Those standard symbols being constructed in a family tree fashion, that is called pedigree analysis. For that, you should know about the symbols of pedigree charting. So you can see on the left side, if you put a shaded square, that is unaffected male, and if you put a blank circle, that is unaffected female. If you cross the square, that means the male is dead, and if you cross a circle, the female is dead. So just leave the fifth symbol, come to the sixth symbol. So if you shade the circle completely, it is affected female. If you shade the square completely, it is affected male. If you put a dot inside, that is carrier. And instead of square or circle, if you are putting a diamond, that is sex unspecified. And if it is a shaded circle with a line above, that is abortion or stillbirth, sex unspecified. And if you connect a circle and square with a line, that is marriage, mating. If you connect the circle and square with double line, that is consanguineous marriage or consanguineous mating. And parents with offspring can be represented, and non-identical twin or dizygotic twin can be represented in a particular fashion, and monozygotic or identical twin can be represented in a particular fashion. Now see on the left side, the fifth symbol from top, that is called propositus. You can see that there is a square with an arrow from the left side bottom. Propositus is a male person who is affected by genetic disorder and who is coming to the clinician. Proposita is a female person who is affected and coming to the clinician. Okay, so you can use a broad term called proband. Proband means they are the affected people who are having the clinical manifestation and they are coming to the clinic. Now coming on to Mendelian inheritance, that is single gene disorder. So it is caused by a single mutant gene, and there are four patterns of inheritance: autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, sex-linked inheritance. So whenever sex-linked inheritance term is used, it is usually synonymous with X-linked inheritance. You know that there are two sex chromosomes, one is X, one is Y. This Y chromosome is not having any Mendelian gene except HY antigen gene. This HY antigen gene is a only trait that is transmitted from father to son. Okay, so because of this, whenever you are telling the term X-linked inheritance, it is synonymous with X-linked inheritance. It can be a X-linked dominant or it can be a X-linked recessive. Autosomal dominant inheritance. You know that there are 22 pairs of autosomes and one pair of sex chromosome in human being. So now let us consider the first pair of chromosomes. So in the first pair of chromosome, one chromosome is derived from father, one chromosome is derived from mother. So if the chromosome derived from father is having abnormal gene and if the chromosome derived from mother is normal, then the child is said to be heterozygote. Okay, and if the chromosome derived from father is also having an abnormal gene and if the chromosome derived from mother is also having an abnormal gene, the child is said to be homozygote. This autosomal inheritance is expressing in a heterozygote state itself. In homozygote, the manifestations are severe. Okay, so you can trace the autosomal dominant in trait through many generations, and common examples are porphyria variegata, achondroplasia, tuberous sclerosis, Treacher-Collins syndrome, neurofibromatosis, Marfan syndrome, and myotonic dystrophy. This is your pedigree analysis of autosomal dominant inheritance. Just concentrate on certain factors. So just see, whether there all the generations in all the generations there is an affected person or not. That is one thing. And then see if the affected person is having an affected parent or affected sibling or affected offspring, and see the male and female proportion. Okay, so you are just going to infer the pedigree from these 3 points alone. So what are my inferences in the pedigree for autosomal dominant? Autosomal dominant, the affected person is having an affected parent. Okay, so you can see that in second generation there is an affected male and affected female, and this affected male and female, they are having an affected parent. In the third generation, the affected people, they are having affected parents. So affected person has an affected parent. Then the second thing is the affected person, they have normal offsprings and abnormal offsprings in equal proportion. That means there are 50% of normal uh, kids and 50% of abnormal kids. Okay, so you can see that in the first generation there is one affected male. In the second generation there is one affected male, one affected female, and one unaffected female. So that means the female, in the female 50% is unaffected and 50% is affected. Okay. Then both males and females are equally affected. In second generation you can see that there are chances of males and female getting affected is 50-50. The trait appears in every generation without skipping. Okay, normal children of affected person, they don't transmit the disease. So in the second generation you can see that there is an unaffected female. Okay, this unaffected female is not transmitting the disease to her kids. So again let me tell the features again. Affected person has an affected parent. Affected person has normal and abnormal offspring in equal proportion. Both males and females are equally affected. The trait appears in every generation without skipping. Exception to this could be the trait impairing reproductive capacity of an affected person, and normal children of an affected person don't transmit the disease. But there is one exception. The parent can be unaffected. How come is it possible? There are three reasons for that. One is, so here you can see in the second generation one male is affected. So you can, if you are putting the pedigree and you are seeing that the parent of affected male is not affected, how come is it possible? So one reason is, if the affected person is having a new mutation, then there is a chance of the parent being unaffected. For example, in the second generation, the affected male can be having a new mutation, the parent is not affected. Okay, so in the disorders you can see that porphyria variegata, achondroplasia and all, no. So achondroplasia, 80% of patients, they are having new mutation. Tuberous sclerosis, 80% of patients are having new mutation. Treacher-Collins syndrome, 60% of patients are having new mutation. And neurofibromatosis, 40% of patients are having new mutation. And Marfan syndrome, 30% of patients are having new mutation. And myotonic dystrophy, 25% of patients are having new mutation. So that is one reason. The second reason is, if the gene is not expressing in the parent, if the gene is present in the parent but it is not expressing in the parent, then the parent seems to be normal but they are having the abnormal gene. And the third reason is extramarital paternity. The two important features of autosomal dominant disorders are delayed onset and variable clinical expression. Delayed onset, what is that meaning? So the mutant gene is present at birth but the clinical manifestations are seen in the adult life. Example, adult polycystic kidney disease. The mutant gene is present at birth, but the person will be coming to you with clinical manifestation in adult life. Then variable clinical expression. What is variable clinical expression? There is a single disorder, but the same family members, they are having different manifestation. So there is a disorder called multiple endocrine adenoma peptic ulcer syndrome. So in this disorder, you will be seeing that the members are of the same family, but they are, one of them will be having hypoglycemia, one of them will be having multiple lipoma of skin, one of them will be having peptic ulcer, one of them will be having kidney stone, and one will be having bitemporal hemianopsia. Okay, and they'll be having problem with pancreas, one will be having problem with parathyroid, one will be having problem with pituitary. So this is variable clinical expression. This is a Punnett square for autosomal dominant. You know to construct the Punnett square. as it was taught in your classes, school days. Autosomal recessive inheritance. Autosomal dominant was expressed in a heterozygous state, whereas autosomal recessive will be expressed only in a homozygous state, and the parents will be heterozygote. Okay, and the trait usually appears in siblings. Example: cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, phenylketonuria, mucopolysaccharide disorders like Hurler syndrome, Tay Sachs disease, Lawrence-Moonbiddle syndrome, and sickle syndrome. Again, this is your pedigree analysis for autosomal recessive, and now we have to interpret the pedigree analysis. So what is our interpretation? So the interpretation is the trait is appearing in siblings and it is not appearing in parents and offsprings, and 25% of the siblings of the proband are affected. Okay, you can see that in the third generation the affected male is having one affected sister. Okay, so 25% of the siblings of proband are affected. The risk is 1 in 4, and both males and females are having an equal chance of getting affected, and parents of proband may be consanguineous. So let me again tell the features. The trait appears in siblings, not in parents or offsprings. About 25% of siblings in the proband are affected. Both males and females are having equal chance of getting affected. Parents of proband are consanguineous. Now see that the parent is a heterozygote. So this heterozygote state is called carrier. So in medical side, the carrier is a term used for person with infection. They are not manifesting the infection, but they are transmitting the infection. In genetics, carrier means they are heterozygote state. This is a Punnett square. Now, in the Punnett square, you can play with the Punnett square. So, let us consider the parents. Okay, so one parent is a carrier, the another parent is also carrier. That means they are heterozygote. Then, if you see in the left side, one kid will be normal, one kid is affected, that is homozygote, two kid will be heterozygote, that means carrier. If both parents are affected, then all kids will be affected. If one parent is a heterozygote carrier and one parent is a homozygote affected, 50% of the kids will be affected and 50% will be heterozygote carrier. Then coming on to sex-linked inheritance, you know that males are having XY chromosome and females are having XX chromosome. So the sex-linked inheritance, already it is discussed, that means it is a X-linked inheritance because Y chromosome they don't show any Mendelian gene except for the HY antigen gene, which is transmitting from father to son, that is Harry Pinna. And X-linked dominant trait, it's more rare than the X-linked recessive trait. Sorry. Sex-linked inheritance, males are having XY chromosome and females are having XX chromosome. So if the disease, it's an X-linked recessive trait, okay, then the females will show the disease only if both the X chromosomes are having the problem. So females rarely they are affected, whereas the males are having XY chromosome. So the males are said to be hemizygous in respect to X-linked genes. So this is your X-linked recessive pedigree. So what can you infer from the pedigree? So the X-linked recessive, the trait affects the males. You can see that only males are affected, rarely females are affected, whereas the females are carrier. Okay, the disease is transmitted from an affected male through all his daughters. Okay, the daughter is a carrier and the daughter will be transmitting the disease to half of her sons. That means the disease will be transmitted from an affected male to half of his grandsons, whereas his daughter is a carrier. And there is no male to male transmission occur. There is no transmission from father to son because the father is contributing for a Y chromosome to his son, not an X chromosome. And in a kindred, so if you see in the second generation there is one affected male, in the third generation there is one affected male, and in the fourth generation there is one affected male. So you can see that the third generation affected male is having a affected uncle. So in a kindred, the affected male are related to each other through carrier female. That means the third generation affected male is having a carrier mother and is related to his affected uncle through the carrier mother. Again, the trait affects males, rarely female. The trait is transmitted from affected male through all his daughters to half of the sons. and no male-to-male transmission occurs since father contributes only Y chromosome to his son. In a kindred, affected males are related to each other through carrier female. Example, hemophilia, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, color blindness, G6PD deficiency. This is X-linked dominant inheritance. So now if you see this one, you can very well infer that it is similar to autosomal dominant. Okay, but how can you differentiate it from autosomal dominant? So what are the things that is differentiating it from the autosomal dominant? One thing is trait is more frequent in females than in male. Okay, the next thing, affected male, they are transmitting the trait to all his daughters and not to his sons. So in the second generation, there is one affected male, but he is transmitting the disease or the trait to his daughters alone, and he is not transmitting the trait to his son. That you should know. This is more important, which feature which is distinguishing itself from the autosomal dominant. Affected homozygote female transmit the trait to all children. Affected homozygote female is transmitting the trait to all the children. So you can see that the first one, there is one affected female. The female can be a homozygote or heterozygote. If the female is homozygote, then in the picture all the children will be affected. But here half of the children are affected and half are not affected. That implies the female is an heterozygote state. Okay, so this thing you have to know. If you are tracing the progeny of an affected female, you cannot distinguish this condition from an autosomal dominant. You have to trace the progeny of an affected male. Then you can easily distinguish the condition from the autosomal dominant disorder. So the main features are, it occurs more frequently in women. Affected male transmit the trait to all his daughters and none to his son. This is more important. This distinguishes X-linked dominant inheritance from autosomal dominant inheritance, and if the female is homozygous, she will transmit the trait to all his children. If the female is heterozygous, she will transmit the trait to half of her children. Example, XG blood group, vitamin D resistant rickets and hypophosphatemia. Multifactorial inheritance or polygenic inheritance, it results from combination of factors. It is genetic and non-genetic. And it's difficult to decide whether the environmental factors are operational in bringing about the defect or whether the genes determining the trait are having small additive effect. So among normal traits, there are family pattern peculiar of multifactorial inheritance. They are height of the individual, then intelligence quotient, total rich count. And some of the common congenital malformation, they show multifactorial inheritance like cleft lip, cleft palate, club foot, congenital dislocation of hip joint, congenital heart disease, neural tube defects such as anencephaly and spina bifida. And non-genetic factors which are operating under multifactorial inheritance include teratogenic agents like drugs, infection, ionizing radiation. The drugs are, some of the common drugs are thalidomide, anticonvulsant, anti-cancer drug, anti-malarial. Infections, rubella virus, ionizing radiation, X-rays, administration of radioactive substances like iodine 131, phosphorus 32 and gold 198. So till now we have seen about autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant and X-linked recessive. We are going to see some of the conditions, and we are going to discuss about their clinical manifestations. The conditions which are discussed are achondroplasia, cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, vitamin D resistant ricket, hemophilia, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So whenever you are writing about the condition, first and foremost point to be mentioned is whether it is autosomal dominant, autosomal recessive, X-linked dominant, X-linked recessive. Achondroplasia is autosomal dominant disorder. Here the homozygous offspring will be having severe manifestation, and the heterozygote is having clinical manifestations like short stature, large head size, prominent forehead, scooped out nasal bridge and short limb. And achondroplastics usually have normal intelligence, and marriages between two achondroplastics are also known. Already discussed, no? So here it can result from a new mutation. 80% of the cases are result of new mutation. Cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive trait. Until 1955, the life expectancy was only 5 years, and after that, life expectancy is 25 years. So here there will be a thick viscous mucus which is obstructing the passages. So there will be the airways will be blocked by thick mucus secretion. So that leads to recurrent respiratory tract infection, and that leads to chronic lung disease. You know that pulmonary trunk from the right ventricle is carrying deoxygenated blood to the lung. So whenever the lung is affected and in a chronic state, then there will be back pressure on the right ventricle leading to cardiac failure. And the pancreatic duct and pancreatic enzyme secretions are reduced, so that leads to malabsorption and increased fat content in the stool, and vas differences are blocked, and that leads to infertility in males. Small bowel is blocked, that meconium ileus is caused. Cirrhotic liver and rectal prolapse, they are some of the manifestations. So the gene for the cystic fibrosis is cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator gene. The protein product is called CFTR. The protein is involved in chloride transport and mucin secretion through the cell membrane. The common mutation is deletion of phoenotate codon. Okay. So diagnosis, how to diagnose it? If you take the sweat of the patient, there will be elevated sodium chloride levels. And if you take the blood of the patient and if you measure the immunoreactive trypsin level, that will be elevated because of blockage of pancreatic duct. And gene mapping of CF locus can be done to long arm of 7th chromosome. Sickle cell anemia is an autosomal recessive trait. It's the most common hemoglobinopathy. The clinical manifestations are cerebral symptoms, kidney failure, pneumonia, heart failure, weakness, and lassitude. And the mutant allele is HBS. It's less soluble than normal hemoglobin, so it tends to crystallize out and cause a sickle cell deformation of the red cell. And the sickle cells, they are less stable when compared with normal cell. So there will be rapid destruction of the red cells that leads to anemia. In addition, the sickle cell, they are having reduced deformability. So you know that the red cells can travel in small arterioles and capillaries by just deformability property. So these sickle cells are having reduced deformability property, so that leads to obstruction of small arteries. So the tissue supplied by those arteries, they will be receiving inadequate oxygen. Sickle cell crisis is an acute manifestation. It's a sudden manifestation, sudden onset of chest pain, back pain, and limb pain because of obstruction of arteries. And there will be fever, dark urine due to presence of free hemoglobin in the urine. That's called sickle cell crisis. So they have tried so many treatment modalities to prevent the sickling process. And because of infarction of the spleen, there is sepsis also. So they have even tried penicillin prophylaxis for that sepsis. But there are various therapeutic approaches, but none of them are having any clear benefit as yet. So vitamin D resistant ricket is an X-linked dominant. So here achondroplasia is a autosomal dominant, cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive, sickle cell anemia is autosomal recessive, vitamin D resistant rickets is X-linked dominant. So this vitamin D resistant ricket, the patient will be coming to you with short stature, with deformity of the growth of lower limb. And if you give, okay, you are suspecting rickets, so you will be treating the person with vitamin D. You will be giving vitamin D in a normal dose. The patient is not responding because the cholecalciferol is going, 125 cholecalciferol is going, 125 dihydroxycholecalciferol is going to act on an end organ. That organ is not sensitive to this vitamin D itself, so they are not responding to normal doses of vitamin D. And this person will be having reduced tubular reabsorption of phosphate. So the phosphate is not reabsorbed in the kidney tubule, so there will be having reduced serum phosphate level. So how to treat it? High doses of vitamin D. But this high dose of vitamin D itself is toxic to the kidney. Hemophilia is an X-linked recessive one, X-linked recessive trait. The incidence is, so if you are using X-linked recessive, whenever you are writing incidence, use a term male because males are affected. So incidence is 1 in 10,000 males, and there is deficiency of clotting factor 8. You know that there are about clotting factor. So here clotting factor 8 is deficient, so blood doesn't clot on injury. So there will be profuse bleeding, and there can be bleeding from nose, blood in urine, blood in stool. Whenever there is a surgical procedure in tooth, there will be profuse bleeding, and the patient can bleed inside the joint cavity leading to severe arthritis. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is again an X-linked recessive trait. The incidence is 1 in 3,500 male, and the clinical feature, the male person will come to you, or the male kid will come to you at around 3 years and 5 years of age with muscle weakness, awkward gait. Okay, so whenever the child wants to stand up from sitting posture, the child will climb on itself. That's called Gover's sign. This is to be noted in clinics. And the child will be having delay in learning to walk around 18 month of age. The normal kid can do this around 12th month of age. And here you can see there is lumbar lordosis, joint contracture, cardiac problems, respiratory problems. Okay, the mean age of death is 18 years of age, and the mean IQ of the kid is 83. So the intellectual impairment is due to pleiotropic effect of DMD gene mutation. How to diagnose this condition? So muscles are always related to creatine kinase level in serum. So measure the serum creatine kinase level, it is elevated. Then muscle biopsy, it will show increased variation in fiber size in early stages. In late stages, it will be necrosis followed by fibrous replacement. Again, you can map the gene, DMD gene, to X chromosome, short arm of X chromosome. In 2/3 of cases, you can identify gene deletion. And the protein product of DMD gene is called dystrophin. Management, no effective and satisfactory treatment is available. And some approaches which are tried are direct injection of recombinant DNA, myoblast implantation, and transfection with retroviral or adenoviral vectors containing a dystrophin mini gene. Thank you.